Hey, Uncle John, hi.
Hi, John. Hi, John.
Right. Okay, I'll make Uncle John a co-host as well.
And Eric and Clement, hi.
Hey, hello, Mr. John.
All right, Mr. Tam, can I request your help? Okay, because I will be hosting this talk. So if there's people that's on the waiting room, okay, you can help me onboard them.
Sure.
Okay, or any of the co-hosts, like if you see that people is on the waiting room, okay, if you realize that it's your student or no, okay, can help me to onboard them. Okay, I will put Samantha on mute for the time being. Okay, so we are about 3 minutes away. So for the participants here, later on, if you have any questions for any of us, okay, you can either type using the chat function down here, or you can use the raise hand function. I'm not sure whether you are aware of the raise hand function. It's under the reactions button. And most of my students raise hand like that. Or something like that. Do your students use this? Yep. I'm not sure. It is the raise hand function. Okay, is it recording already?
Yeah, it's recording already.
Okay, can.
Somebody press recording. Yeah. I think it's
cool. Right. Hi, Isin. Hi, Sonali, and hi, Nyasha. Hello. And if you recognize any of your students in this group, you can say hi to them.
Hi, Gail. Sonali.
Hi, Uncle John.
Okay, hi.
Hi. Uncle John. All right, okay.
Hey, hello.
Hi, Sharon is behind.
Yes, very much. He's going to join this conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, James.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Ming.
Your video.
Good we keep this session intimate. So if you have any questions, you can copy and paste this chat.
Hang on.
Coming in.
It's so weird to see Mr. Tam in anywhere but him.
Oh, hi Nidhi. Hi Nidhi.
Nice.
Is this the Nidhi that I know?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, enjoy your stay here. Enjoy your stay. Hey, any questions? You can raise it up. Hey, I'm 1 minute shy away from the talk. Okay, so I intend to start punctually. Then we can have more time for FAQ. Okay, so let me do a screen share. Okay, we will. Close this. Okay, I'll swap the screen. Okay. And is everyone seeing my screen correctly? Can? Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so welcome on board. Okay, right now it's 8 o'clock. Okay, my name is Jeffrey. Okay, and I'm the so-called the host and the speaker for today. Okay, so today we'll be bringing to all of you the subject combination talk. So I'm going to assume that most of you here, in fact, all of you here, okay, have a genuine desire to enter JC, okay, or you're waiting for your JE results to be announced or your JC posting. Am I right to assume that? Should be lah, huh? Okay, so this talk will be primarily centric around JC subjects. So we will not be talking anything about poly, okay, or any other possible routes for O-level. Okay, so I'm also not sure whether are there any IP students here. Okay, IP students should have made their subject combination in somewhere in year 4. Also, if you are an IP student, you would like to identify yourself, you can drop me a chat. Okay, and we can see how it turns out. Okay, so let me quickly go to the next slide. All right, so I'll just quickly run through the rationale of the talk and introduce the key speakers. Okay, so this talk actually conceived because Uncle John actually got in touch with me, okay, and we decided that, look, Uncle John has, sorry, there's some background noise at the back, okay, I'll put some of you to mute for the time being. And yes, okay, because Uncle John mentioned that there are some of his O-level students, they are going to move on to JC, and some of them has been asking, hey, how is it like in JC? What are the subject combinations available? Asking for tips. And that's why, okay, by all the credits to Uncle John, okay, we managed to put up a talk, okay, with the 4 most popular subject combination of physics, chem, math, econs. Okay, this is by far the most popular. Now, of course, GP there is a mandatory subject. Okay, but unfortunately for today, we don't have a GP speaker today. Yeah, but if any of the coaches are able to take questions on behalf of GP tutor, that would be good. Okay, so maybe I would like to invite Uncle John. Okay, would you like to quickly share with us? Okay, or rather anything that you'd like to add on to this talk.
All right. Okay. It's been always on my heart. Some concerns, because I think for students, especially for the OP side, the O-level program, when they go over to the JC, there is a lot of question mark. What is it like? There's certain opaqueness to the entire thing, like what subject to choose. Like there are some ideas what they want to do in uni, or along the way. By now they have some idea what they want to do, but they are not so sure about exactly what must they do. What is what's arts and what is science. What is a needed subject that they must take in order for them to go to this the course that they want. All right, so there is some confusion over there. All right, so and I find that some of the OP school, they especially in the neighborhood school around in Bukit Panjang, what happened is that they are focused more on poly. So their talk is basically centered around poly. But some outstanding student along the way, when they begin to search for answers, you usually end up against a brick wall. So I think this year I was thinking that, hey, since the pandemic is over, why don't, and Zoom is already so easy for us to access to the student, good access for the student. Why not we have a talk? And I'm very thankful for Jeffrey gathering Eric, and then this Tak Ming together with this CY, that they are able to come up with this area. I mean, for me, my JC days are so far off at the back. So I was thinking that if they are able to come in and then give some ideas, some direction, some light to the student, that would be very good, because they themselves have so much experience in this area. So I'm very thankful for all of them able to use a Sunday night, precious Sunday night, to give a talk like this. So thank you very much, boys. Guys. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, John. So we'll have a very simple introduction. Okay, we'll always go in this order of PCME. Okay, so we'll have Tak Ming. Would you like to kindly introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah. Hi. My name is Tak Ming. Right. The founder of the Thinkers Cap Education. My passion lies in helping students to marry both their interest in mathematics and science together, and that's the reason why I'm doing physics. Right. And for most students, they have taken physics. They have this dilemma of deciding whether they should continue with physics or should they switch to another subject. And my job today is to help you clarify those doubts that you have.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Tam. Next up, Mr. Kwa.
Hello, my name is Eric. So I'm the founder for Mr. Chemistry. So basically the same as Mr. Tam lah, but chemistry version. Yeah, so because chemistry is also quite a big cohort taking, so there are quite a few inquiries regarding chemistry and what's the prerequisite and everything for uni courses. So I think I'm here today to help to clarify that. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Kwa. All right, so can I invite CY? Okay, would you like to have a short introduction of yourself?
Hello, everybody. Okay, my name is CY Ho. Okay, I'm with the Initiative Learning Hub with Uncle John. So I'm teaching H2 mathematics. So it's quite a challenging topic for many students, and also there are many choices. There is H1, H2 further maths, as well as H3 mathematics. So my experience, a lot of students find challenges with H2 mathematics. So probably here tonight, I can share some of my experience and some of the so-called insight I've gathered from feedback from students. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so so myself, okay, my name is Jeffrey, the founder of AC Econs. Okay, so unlike the earlier speakers, okay, most of you probably won't have experience with economics, okay, unless you come from very selected specific schools that offer economics as an elective. Okay, so today I'll also be your humble host for today. So if there are any questions for any of us, okay, you can use the chat function. Or you can slide us a DM, or you can use your raise hand function. So this is not a very big group, so we intend to keep this intimate, okay, and really to go on to address all your needs and concerns for your upcoming JC1 subject combination. Okay, so with this, I'm going to move on to the next slide, okay, of the flow. So there are only 4 things that we'll be covering very specifically. Okay, so the first one will be uncovering the key differences between secondary school and JC lifestyle. The second one will be key differences between secondary school and JC subjects. Okay, so to be more specific, okay, just now I think Mr. Tam or Mr. Tak-Ming has mentioned the secondary school equivalent of physics and the JC equivalent of physics. Okay, how are they exactly? How are they different, or how are they similar, or even combined science? Okay, whether are there any differences when they move on to the H2 equivalent of the science subject? And for the third point, we'll be going through the differences between the H1 and H2 subjects. So for the H1 and H2 subjects, okay, I'm not too sure whether you guys are aware. Most of the schools, okay, offer 3 H2 and 1 H1. Some of the schools offer 4 H2 straight away. Okay, so if you are offered 3 H2s and 1 H1, okay, then you got to know what's the difference and how does it play a role into your subject combination. And the last one is probably something that a lot of students have been asking. Okay, university choice. Okay, so with particular subject combinations, it will unlock a particular university route. Okay, so later on, I'll invite the speakers to share. Okay, for instance, chemistry. Okay, what are the particular university choices and career path that you can unlock, okay, when you take H2 chemistry? Okay, so if there are any questions like I've mentioned, you can either stay all the way to the end for the FAQ, or you can drop us any questions at any point of the time. Okay, so with this, okay, I'm going to move on to the first part. So just like to make this or keep this session interactive. So we'll go through one round of maybe start with our physics subject representative, Mr. Tam. And what is your perspective of secondary school and JC lifestyle? How are they entirely? How are they same, or how are they different?
Maybe I just share some perspective because I've taught both secondary and JC, and okay, the secondary school so-called lecture, the classroom tends to be more in the style of a classroom teaching, right? Unless in certain IP schools they have adopted some lecture tutorial system. Otherwise, mainly will be classroom teaching. But I know that I understand that over the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, a lot of lessons have already gone online. So the students are quite used to looking at video lectures, right? They are uploaded to the student portal and having the tutorials done either online or face-to-face in a very limited fashion. So now with the migration to the JC, it's going to be a lecture tutorial system, meaning students will attend lectures on the content knowledge. They impart of the content knowledge through the lectures, and the tutorial itself will be more of a classroom style, where the students will get to learn from the tutors directly through the tutorial questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Tam. What about Mr. Kwa? Okay, do you have anything to add on, okay, about the lifestyle differences or similarity?
Okay, I think so for myself, most of my teaching career was spent in a JC. So I have first-hand knowledge. Basically, the kids in JC, they end school pretty late, probably around 4+ or 5. And then after that, they have their CCAs for some of them. And there's also like a remedial classes. Let's say if they have not done well for their mid-year exams or promotional exams, sometimes they are made to stay back for those remedial classes. So all in all, I would say that JC students, right, if you count in their CCA and whatnot, project work meeting in JC1, sometimes their time is actually pretty packed on a weekday. So some of them go home, reach home like, I heard of some students, right, they take basketball CCA, they can like go home like 9 o'clock, those kind. And then by the time they wash up, eat dinner, everything done, 10 o'clock. So they're pretty tired by then. So compared to a secondary school student, I think the lifestyle is very packed, is very hectic, especially for 4H2. So that's something to take note of.
Right, thanks, Mr. Kwa. What about CY? You have anything to add on?
Okay, after speaking to a few students that J1 student, J2 student, right? So I think from a very broad perspective, it's like they experience more autonomy and there are more activities. So probably shifting towards treated more like adult. So of course, there's a lot of pros in this because they will get to learn more social skills, they get to organize things, soft skill, leadership management skills, so good development. So of course, ultimately the important thing also is that to do well in their studies. So to put myself in their shoes, and also I went through JC also. So there is possibly so-called a conception in the student that the opportunity cost of so-called spending a lot of time studying could be losing out a lot of fun. So that could cause a certain like, if I study too much, I may miss out a lot of fun. So in this case, so one of my suggestions to them is that we can also have one stone, two birds. So okay, probably like how to have fun at the same time, studying at the same time. So for example, you can gather a group of friends, study in the library. After studying, you can go for a jog together and probably have some food together. So the day will be also very substantial. So you don't have to do this every day, but you can have a so-called social as well as study at the same time. So this is my perspective of it. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, CY. Okay, so I would just like to quickly add on. I think most of the key differences has been highlighted. It's all about experiencing it yourself. So personally, I don't have any O-level students. Okay, economics is what only mostly offered in the A-level side. So one of the key difference that I observe for students who succeed in JC is they have really good self-discipline. Okay, especially there's a lot of there's not much of hand holding anymore. Okay, give me a second. Okay, sorry. And yes, okay, there's not much of hand holding in JC. So students are treated like adults. Okay, so especially students are treated like adults. They are given privileges of an adult. Okay, but some of the students actually abuse the privilege. Okay, and when they abuse the privilege, okay, more than often I see that, when they are not living up to the spectrum of where they're expected to perform, okay, or to even submit their homework or whatever. And there's a good chance, or there's a remote chance that they may stay back for one more year of JC1. So this is something that I observe. Okay, so the transition for secondary school to JC is a little bit tricky. So I hope the speakers have already wrapped up most of them. If not, if you have any questions for us, you can drop us a chat down here. Okay, drop us a question on the chat. I'm going to move on to the next part. The next part is probably more in tune with what we are covering today. Okay, this is why we invite the four most widely adopted combination of subjects in JC. Okay, so first of all, okay, key difference between secondary school and JC subjects. So maybe I would like to invite Mr. Tam. Okay, so what do you think is the key difference between JC physics, okay, and secondary school physics, or even combined science physics? And what is your opinion, or rather, should they pursue H2 or H2 physics in JC?
All right. Okay. The question of whether you should pursue physics in the first place, right, lies in what options do you want to have at the end of your A levels. For those students who have an interest in pursuing engineering related courses, most of the engineering related courses will require H2 physics as one of the key requirements for admission, right? So in order to qualify for those courses, you need to really take H2 physics. For those of the students who are not quite decided what they want to pursue at the end of their A levels in university, having physics as the option will open doors to the courses should they decide to pursue engineering at the end of the A levels. And of course, they can also do that in conjunction with the other related science subject. So PCME being one of the more popular combination, because literally this combination allows students to apply for literally every course available in university, including medicine itself as well, right? Okay, so that's one thing to take note of. Okay, the other thing to take note of is for students who have done pure physics in secondary, once they obtain a pass in their pure physics, they are actually qualified to take your H2 physics. For those students who have take combined science, on the other hand, with physics as one of the combination in the combined science, most schools, right, would JCs would allow them to take H2 physics only if they have scored at least A2 or A1. Then they are allowed to take H2 physics. Otherwise, they would have to consider taking it at H1 level. Right, so that is the difference if you are taking combined science physics, considering whether you should take H2 physics or H1 physics. There's a particular requirement that the schools will impose. Okay, in terms of the content itself, in your pure physics in secondary school, there are a lot of topics that are extension of what they have done in O-level physics, pure physics. Okay, but in terms of the depth and the analysis, H2 physics tend to demand students to have strong mathematical background, because there'll be quite a fair bit of derivation, and a lot of the derivation basically have to stem from your understanding from the first principles itself, right? So having a good mathematical foundation will be key to performing well in H2 physics itself. Between H1 and H2 physics, okay, H1 physics basically has half the content in as compared to H2 physics. Lest you think that it is easier to score, it is actually not the case, because without the practical paper, which is present in H2 physics, but not in H1 physics, H1 physics doesn't have practical, right? And there's no paper 3 where there's a long structured questions, right? There will be a lot of emphasis on the MCQ part, and MCQ questions, right, can be deceptively difficult to score because there's no marks for working. Either you get it right or get it wrong, right? So that's one key difference that you should take note of.
Okay, thanks, Tang Ming.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so key differences between secondary school and JC subjects. So to be more specific.
来，快点，一起来听。
Okay, sorry, okay, I have to put Lina on mute. Okay, and yes, okay, I'd like to probably consult Eric. Okay, so from your perspective, so what's the difference between secondary school camp and JC camp? Okay, or even O-level or combined science camp to H2 camp. So what is your take on this?
Okay, so for chemistry, right, pretty much the jump from secondary to JC is a huge jump, because a lot of students tend to have this misconception that because the topics they see in chemistry in JC, right, is kind of, it looks familiar to them. They think that it's like just a extension to their secondary school chemistry, which is not really accurate, because the content wise is really like, maybe you're looking at like 20% versus 100%, that kind of a jump. It's made worse if, let's say, they are taking combined science. I know of some secondary school, the students are taking combined science, right? The teacher just continue teaching the pure chemistry topics so that they gain the exposure. So there are those schools, but then there are also those schools that are just combined science students, and they don't do titration in secondary school. They don't do electrolysis topic, and quite a number of extension topic they will not have covered in combined science. So if they are looking to take H2 chemistry in JC, they have to take that into consideration. Because I myself, I'm a combined science student. I went on to take H2 chem. Like back in the days, it was A-level chem lah. And then there was this huge jump, and I didn't even know what is a burette, what is a pipette, and all those things. So I really felt very stressed out in my whole JC1. It was just one whole year of trying to catch up. So I think you have to be mentally prepared lah, for those who are thinking of taking this option of H2 chemistry. So to me, that's is a very big jump in itself, and it's made worse if you're a combined science student. Have to work doubly hard. Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Eric, for the practical advice. Okay, so I think is quite timely. Okay, because pure and combined is actually quite a common combination in secondary school. And what about math side? Okay, for CY, what do you observe for students with A math, E math? Okay, when they move on to JC math, is let's say H2 math. Okay, what are the key differences or key challenges that they may encounter?
Okay, maybe I can talk about the evolution of this the math subjects. So for secondary school, maybe over the past 2-3 decades, so secondary school more or less quite the same. Used to be elementary maths, additional mathematics. Today is still the same, O-level mathematics, additional mathematics. Syllabus-wise, more or less the same. Interestingly, for the JC math, used to be C math, F math under the GCE so-called OA level system. Now we come Singapore Cambridge. I think it took place in 2005 or 2007. So they come out with something like the H2 mathematics. So comparing H2 mathematics with C math and F math, H2 mathematics is somewhere in between. In terms of scope as well as in terms of difficulty. Difficulty means the demand for critical thinking. So also they have H2 further math. Nowadays, very few people take. Last time you can take double math, so now it's H2 is something like somewhere in between. Get the two C math, F math into one. So okay, we observe from a student. This is quite a so-called. It will ring a bell for people who have taken the mathematics. Is that a lot of so-called students that score A1 distinction in additional mathematics in secondary school actually end up with D grade, U grade. It's quite a common observation for H2 mathematics. Okay. Also, you can hear students saying that H2 mathematics, I can do first part, but second part, I'm stuck. Okay. Even some of the students, they Google, this is the opinion they see from the internet. So what is the reason? So I spend a lot of time to also wonder and also together and talking to students. So in my opinion, it's like this mathematics for H2 mathematics, or rather mathematics at large. So there are basically 3 components. So you can say that, okay, maybe what are the topics, okay, how to use, I need to say how to apply, okay, and the third one is why it works. Okay, so when it comes to H2 mathematics, this why it works part is very, they focus on, you need to know why it works. So give a very clear example, very simple example. For example, elementary mathematics factorization of a quadratic polynomial. So one of the algorithm, you just put a cross, you put the so-called x square on one side, and then you put the constant on one side, then you try and error in the middle, you draw the cross and it works. So we talk about quadratic factorization, this is the thing, how to work. A lot of students, I mean, how it works, a lot of students trial and error they can. But if you ask students why it works, why the algorithm works, okay, this is the problem a lot of people get stuck. Okay, even for additional mathematics, like find the line of symmetry of quadratic equation, everybody can complete the square, and then you can do that, you score A1. But why is it that the algorithm can give you the line of symmetry? Not many people can answer. So this is the situation. So when people take the H2 mathematics, this critical thinking part is very different from secondary school. As such, a lot of students are not very sure how to do it. So used to be for secondary school, you practice a lot because the focus is on how to apply, how to use. So you practice many questions. So sooner or later, even if you don't understand why, also you can still deliver. But when it comes to H2 mathematics, you need to understand why. And they don't ask you essay questions for you to explain why. They give you another question such that if you don't understand why, right, you are stuck. So as such, this is what I feel is the main difference. So there's the way you approach it is different. You keep practicing, not so good. So some of the guidance will be good. Say for like this, I think. So you practice 100 questions. So if maybe somebody can tell you after you practice 100 questions, right, you probably will end up understanding that it's all about 3 principles. Okay, and then these 3 principles you can apply to other areas. So the way to approach the study and the demand for critical thinking and understanding why certain thing works, right, is the new emphasis that a lot of students, there's an expectation mismatch. This is my opinion. Okay.
Thanks, CY. Thank you. I was informed by one of the co-hosts that I'm left with 2 minutes to share. So I'll probably keep it brief. Yeah. So there is no direct comparison of so-called secondary school economics and JC economics. Like I've mentioned, only very selected schools offers economics for O levels. So for those of you who want to have a good taste of A-level economics, what is it like? Okay, I probably think that the closest comparison is probably your history or your social studies, where you have source-based extracts. Okay, so there will be case studies. Okay, and for both H1 and H2 students, and there will be also essay writing for H2 students. So economics, okay, in one simple sentence, is a study of behaviors, okay, of respective economic agents, okay, consumers, firms, government. How do they make decision? Okay, it's all about decision making. Although it sounds very almighty broad sentence, you realize that okay, this sentence is going to be applied okay, in all walks of life of economics. Okay, so students who typically succeed okay, in economics, in A-level economics, I think one of the earlier sharer, I think it's CY mentioned about concepts. Okay, so memory work and hardcore practice will not help. Okay, you have to get the concepts right. You have to be able to identify what are the concepts being tested. For instance, okay, everyone knows that hey, when you drive a car into the central business district, okay, you'll be subjected to ERP. Then you have to uncover what is the concept behind, what's the economics concept behind that. Okay, if you don't know the concept, if you're not able to identify that, you cannot apply. So economics is a lot of application-based subject. And I've seen a lot of students, okay, when they first join me, okay, they are by default mode is I memorize. Okay, so the moment when you memorize, okay, listen carefully, this is where it's a big red flag for economics. Okay, so we'll be covering the difference between H2 and H1 subjects in a short while. So hold on to your bullets if you want to ask that. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next part, okay, of the H1 and H2 subjects, key differences. So I'm aware that Mr. Tam already mentioned some brief difference between H2 and H1 subject, right? Okay, so Mr. Tam, do you have anything else that you want to add on to the H2 and H1 difference for physics?
I think I just want to just emphasize the part that for H1 physics, there's no practical exam paper. There's no practical paper, and the section on longer structured questions, that paper is not available. So basically, there are only 2 papers for H1 physics. One, the MCQ paper, and the other one is structured questions, right? So in that context, right, you can see that the structured questions at MCQ takes up 33% of the entire marks for the H1 physics. So the MCQ basically has a very heavy weightage for H1 physics. right? If you compare it to H2 physics, right? Okay, H2 physics, we have got 4 papers, right? Paper 1 is MCQ, paper 2 will be the structured, paper 3 is the longer structured questions, right? So the difference between paper 2 and paper 3 is the paper 3 longer structured questions basically is a synthesis of 2 or more topics in one question. So basically, the candidates are asked to apply concepts in 2 or more topics, right, in a guided fashion. So some students may worry that, oh, longer structured questions is going to be more difficult. Actually, not necessarily so, because the longer structured questions basically are more guided in the sense that they are structured in part by part. Okay, and of course, it also means that because they are structured, right, if the first few parts you experience difficulty, the last few parts probably will be a very difficult part to answer as well, right? And in terms of, and then there's a practical paper, right? The practical paper basically, okay, with sufficient practice, right? It is actually a paper that is easy to achieve a good score, which can help pull up your grades, okay, for your H2 physics, right? So if you look at the percentage for the MCQ, the percentage wise for H2 physics is only 15%, right? So comparatively, you may think that H1 physics may be easier, not necessarily so, because of this composition. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Tam. All right, what about Eric? Okay, do you have any insights of the key difference between H1 and H2 chem in terms of subject load, or anything that you observe, or the key challenges that students exhibit when they take either of these 2 subjects? Thanks.
So for chemistry, right, it's pretty clear cut. I think across all the science subject is pretty much the same lah. Chem, bio, physics. We don't have practical papers for H1. So they freed up quite a bit of time on that. And H1 is, in terms of the content width of it, right, it is like half of H2. But the difficulty of the question, right, it doesn't mean that it is much easier. It's just that the content that they need to grapple with is a lot lesser. So some students find that, oh, it feels easier. Okay, that's their perception, but the way that the question is phrased and everything is still at A levels, advanced level. Okay, so I think the main difference is no practical. H2, there's a lot of extension topic that we go into, like organic chem, electrochem, transition elements. So those are the, if they have sort of studied for it in their pure chemistry, I think they will know, like, okay, those are just the tip of the iceberg. All right, so H2 chem is, true to its name, is one of the toughest subject at A level. I'm not going to sugarcoat the thing. It is one of the toughest subject. So they need to be mentally prepared for H2 chemistry. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks. So if any of the speakers have the national average, okay, of the distinction rate that you can share later. Okay. What about CY? Okay. What are your insights between H1 and H2 math? Okay. How are they different? Okay. What are the challenges that students exhibit?
Okay, I see some chat on the question on H1 elementary maths and this regarding this. So let me talk about firstly the exam papers. Okay, so exam papers for H1 maths only one paper. H2 there are 2 papers, right? So then for mathematics paper is so-called there are 2 sections. There's a pure math section and a statistics section. So for the statistics section, H1 and H2, the syllabus almost identical. So of course, the level of difficulty, H1 probably 80% that of H2 just for the statistics section. But when it comes to pure math, right? Pure math, H1 is less than 50% the content of H2 mathematics. So in fact, the so-called the pure math section for H1 mathematics is actually, I would say, very similar to additional mathematics, but even less so than additional mathematics. Additional mathematics has got more secondary school admits, more so-called more coverage for this than H1 mathematics. So, but because H1 mathematics has got the statistics section, right? So if I were to give a so-called a ranking for the level of difficulty, so let's say H2 is 10 points level of difficulty. So I would say that additional mathematics and so-called additional mathematics would be around 6.5, 6 to 6.5. Then probably elementary mathematics will be just 4 in terms of level of difficulty. So this is the difference in terms of the content. So of course, the university requirement, we will talk about it in a later part. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks. I'm not sure how much time I have left. Maybe my my timekeeper wants to let me know. Okay, but I'd just like to quickly touch on for the econ side, the difference between H1 and H2 in terms of the subject load. A lot of the speakers actually mentioned that they are for the H2 subjects, they actually go into the extension topics. Okay, so for the H2 side, okay, there will be extension topics, okay, such as firms and decision, balance of payment, international trade. Okay, so all these are topics that you guys will experience if you are taking H2 subject or H2 econs, not so much for H1. Yeah, but in terms of exam difficulty wise, okay, one of the key things that I have observed is, in fact, I find that the H1 paper is actually more challenging than the H2 paper for some strange reason. Okay, because the case study for H1 students, they only do case studies. Okay, it's a 3.5 hour case study paper. Okay, for the H2 students, they do both case studies and essays. So case studies itself, it has an extra emphasis on application skill. You cannot memorize your way through. Okay, because every extract, every data, every bit of the written prose is different from case study to case study. Okay, so there's an increased emphasis on identifying concepts and application. Okay, so another thing that I observe is for most of my science students, they will take H1 econs, okay, 3 H2, right? And 1 H1 econs. Okay, so one of the things in order to succeed, okay, for econs, okay, no matter is it H1 or H2, okay, one of similarity is actually to write fast. Okay, so if you can write fast, okay, not writing rubbish, okay, but if you have a genuine gift to write fast, if you are, and my art students typically can write faster than my science students, so they have a subtle advantage over the science students if science students who are taking 4 H2 and the fourth subject is the H2 econs. Okay, if they are taking H1 econs, most of them are going to be science students, so there's not much of a competitive edge for the art students here. Okay, so I hope I've addressed most of the key difference, and the earlier sharers have mentioned the key differences between the H1 and H2 subjects. Okay, so there are some queries on the chat. Okay, so mainly math related, so the math side can address that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the last part. University choices with respective subject combination. Okay, so specific combination will unlock specific university route. Okay, so I would just like to quickly, I think just now Mr. Tam has actually briefly shared some of the university choice, right? Okay, so Mr. Tam, for H2 physics, for instance, I'm not talking about H1 physics, okay, H2. Okay, so your university choices are primarily driven by your H2 choices. So for H2 physics, what particular university choice and career path that they can unlock, okay, with the exception of engineering, just now you mentioned, right?
Yeah, okay. I think the STEM courses, right? The science, technology, engineering, and mathematics course, right? So these are the courses that will be available to students who are offering H2 physics. On top of that, because H2 physics, right, has got a strong component in analysis and mathematical demands, right? So for students who are pursuing courses, right, that is on pure, meaning going on pure physics alone, on science and also mathematics, and even for overseas universities, tend to view students offering H2 physics more favorably, because having a good grade in H2 physics actually demonstrates the analytical ability of this student, right, in combining math and science applications together, right? So that's one more thing that I can add, right?
Thanks, Mr. Tam. Okay, what about Mr. Kwa? Okay, anything that you'd like to add on? Okay, for H2 camp, for instance. Okay, what are the subject combination, or rather, what are the university choices that can be unlocked with this particular
Okay,
subject?
so for H2 camp, I think almost everybody knows that faculty of medicine for doctors, you definitely need chemistry. That is the main H2 subject they need to pass, as well as one more science subject. Can be bio, can be physics, but the main one is chemistry. And the other one is dentistry, also needs chemistry. And they also need to pass a dexterity test. I mean, that's for dentistry. And in terms of engineering, right, they have what? Chemical engineering, environmental engineering. You must have a pass in H2 camp. Okay, and then last of all, under the faculty of science, right, you need to, if you want to go to life science, pharmacy, food science and technology, you need a pass in H2 camp. Okay, so those are the courses, right? If you are keen to explore them, I think it's better to take H2 chemistry.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Kwa. Okay, what about CY? Okay, anything that you'd like to add on? Okay, for math, H2 math. Okay, any particular university choice that can be unlocked? Okay, with
Okay, I'd like to try to make this quick. I think I'd like to share screen, but if I share screen just for 30 few seconds, is it a good idea? But I will get you out of the screen.
Okay, sure. You can take over the screen share.
Okay. Okay, this is the screen. This is I managed to get this. So I think for those people who are I mean, we talk about what is this is for NUS accurate as of 26th of January this year. So you can just see through this all the section. H2 math, you realize that H2 math is also okay. Never mind. You can just take a look at this. Okay, I paste the link down here. Okay, just in case that you're trying to look at it. I think unless I'm not sure whether you have gotten this. All right, I'll stop sharing now. Okay, right. Okay, so my point of view is this. Okay, so I think the student face certain dilemma. So first thing first is that let's say you are two cases. One is, let's say you have a weak student, a student that's a weak student, maybe for various reasons. So of course, in this case, if you take something that's quite trying, and then although it can be useful for the future, but you may end up like don't have good grades, and then you may end up not being able to go into the university of your choice. Okay, so in this situation, probably you want to choose something that can get you into the university. For example, this consideration. Of course, if you are okay with the studies, then it becomes a choice that you want to make. So firstly, there'll be two things to consider: your interest. What is it that you're interested with? And then if if you go see a bit further, what you want to do in the future. So for example, some of the subjects are not offered during secondary school, also not offered during college. For example, computer science is something new. Okay, and then also like just to mention, even economics is also something new. So when I was in secondary school, I wasn't exposed to economics. So subsequently, I didn't take economics in JC because it's something new, and my parents did not tell me. So I took something that I liked. So when I went up to the business world, wake up to the world and look at, read the newspaper and try to understand investment, I realized I don't understand anything about economics. Then I took some self-study just to understand what's going on. So of course, that will be subsequently further down. So therefore, need to consider in the future what you want to do. So that will give you some insight. So also I have a friend who he's got first class honors in biology NUS. So end up later when he moved up to the world, he realized that back then, quite long ago, selling insurance is a good idea, can make a lot of money. So as such, he went to sell insurance. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just I'm saying that the first class honors in biology NUS is not easy. So this guy is a very talented guy. So I mean, my own personal point of view is that had he chosen something like finance and economics, probably it would be useful. I mean, the opportunity cost of time, given that resources, time, all these are limited. So I think it's good to see also like what's your career choice, what's going to be useful. This you need certain guide from people who are there, probably your parents and asking other people. So this is my point of view. So after that, that means you work backward from what you want in the future. You work backward and until finally you decide what is the choices available. I mean, that will be useful depending on the university. But I think the NUS one will be a quite a good guide for various university, but it's probably a bit strict. So the other thing worth mentioning, I think, is the H2 mathematics, because the world, I think, is going towards artificial intelligence. So I also teach mathematics for decision science and also like specifically linear algebra, vector space. You need that in order to understand machine learning and things like that. So if going forward, right, the world is going towards this one. So the H1 mathematics doesn't contain this kind of content. In fact, H2 also do not have. You need H2 further mathematics. But if you are doing H1, right, to catch up on those kind of mathematics, it's going to be very trying. So if you do H2 and subsequently later going in the future, you finally realize that there's a need to understand how these artificial intelligence things need to work. You want to go down to it, right? You need the mathematics background. And then H2 gives you a better chance to catch up. This is my point of view, just to share. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, CY. Okay, so for my side, Econs, okay, I bring all of you one bad news and one good news. So the good news is that for H2 Econs, okay, it's not a prerequisite to any courses. Okay, but the bad news is, okay, Econs, okay, being one of the most common subject, you realize that, okay, it's one of the complementary subject to a lot of combination, be it H2 or H1. Okay, due to its popularity because of timetabling convenience, you realize that it will slot nicely into one of your 4 subjects. So there is no running away from Econs, okay, be it H1 or H2. It's just how much weighted is it. So yes, and even for economics in university, okay, I actually interviewed Professor James Lim. He himself actually mentioned that, okay, taking economics in university, that you don't need H2 Econs as a prerequisite. Okay, he himself, when he was in RI, he did not study economics. Okay, he did triple science. Okay, so I hope we have addressed most of the subject combination choices, university choices question. If there are any more, please put it out in the chat. And we will be moving on to the last part. So I would like all of you, okay, to try to participate. Any further questions or any last minute questions for us? Okay, don't give us a free pass. All of us took 1 hour of our precious Sunday to come here. So let's make this worthwhile. And I'm aware that Mr. Tam has prepared 2 questions, right? Mr. Tam, can you read out what are the questions? The first question that one of your parents got you prepared for you. And meanwhile, if there are any questions out there, you can put it onto the chat. Okay, we'll take it from there.
Right. Okay. Okay. One of the questions that I get regarding taking H2 pure science subject is, if my child is taking combined science, is it advisable to go for H2 pure science, or should I be taking H1 science? Right. I think earlier on I kind of addressed this question in the sense that some of the schools, right, okay, will have a requirement of students who are taking combined science, right, to have at least an A2 to be allowed to take the H2 level for the relevant science subject, right? So that's one part. Okay, I think the only exception is Millennium Institute. I think they allow students to take the H2 pure science if the student has achieved at least a B4 for the combined science subject with the relevant subject in question as being offered, right? But other than that, most schools will require students to have at least an A2 in order to offer H2 pure science. Right.
Right,
So that's one of the questions.
Any of the other science speakers down here, would you like to add on to Mr. Tam's earlier question, or anything else to add on? Okay, doesn't seem so. What about the second question? You have a second question, right?
Yeah. Okay. The second question is for admission to university. The rank point computation only requires 3 H2 subjects and 3 H1 subjects. So is it necessary to offer 4 H2 and subjects in the first year, or they be taking 3H2 and 1H1? Right, okay, so in response to the question, right, in general, I would advise students who qualify to offer for 4H2 subjects to go for the 4H2 subjects. There are a few reasons for that, right? The first thing is, if the school allows you to do that, and typically most JCs would have a requirement of students having achieved certain L1, R5 score to be allowed to offer the 4H2 subjects. So if they qualify, I would advise them to do so. First reason, for the 4H2 subjects, typically, the 4th H2 subject can be used for computation to replace one of the H1 subject, should they choose to do so. Right. The second reason is for the 4H2 subjects that are so-called being offered. Okay, and if you have not decided what courses you want to pursue, you should try to open your options as much as possible by offering the 4H2 subjects. Okay, at the end of the year 1 promo exams, right, if the results show that the student is not able to handle the load, then the consideration can be made to decide to downgrade the H2 subject to a H1 subject. But because you've covered most of the content of the subject in H2 level, so if you downgrade it to H1, you will have a tremendous advantage in terms of the coverage of the syllabus and in terms of the preparation for the exam towards for their A-level exam.
All right. Any of the other speakers have anything to add on to the 4H2s and 3H2 and 1H1 combination?
I think in a nutshell, if you are looking to take 4H2, right, academically, you should be pretty strong. If not, there's no point in doing 4H2 because you just need 3H2 for university. So those taking 4H2, usually they want to apply for some scholarship or some sort. That's what I understand. Yeah, so that's my take on it.
Okay, I have something that is not so related, but it's kind of related. So personally, I have been coaching a lot of private candidates. Private candidates are those that don't do well for A-levels. Okay, so the H1 subject, okay, is exceptionally crucial for private candidates because it will decide whether they will have to retake that subject or not retake that subject. Okay, so if you were to retake your A-levels, okay, it's a prerequisite for you to retake all subjects, 3H2 plus your GP in a single sitting. Okay, you cannot retake any single subject alone. Okay, the only single subject that you can retake, okay, is a H1 subject. Okay, you can retake it in a separate sitting, just one H1 subject. Okay, so it pays off if your H1 subject, okay, is done very well in your first try. Then when you retake, you don't need to retake your H1 subject. Okay, so sorry for digressing, okay, but this is relevant, okay, considering the H2 and H1 discussion. I'm so sorry. I'm muted. I'm muted. I forgot to unmute myself. Okay, as I was saying, there's one more question by Shi Jie. Is there anyone out there who can take the question by Shi Jie? That's beyond my domain. computing. Okay, otherwise, okay, if there are any other questions, we can take it offline. Especially you can direct your questions to the person who invited you. Okay, if you got in touch with by Uncle John, okay, you can direct your questions to Uncle John. He can relay the message. If not, I will share our contact number in the last slide. Okay, so this is our contact number. If you would like to further any questions that's directed to individuals down here. Okay, so
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. I think Sononi asked a very good question because this is, I think, is developing in JC right now. It's talking about a hybrid subject combination. What advantage and disadvantage? Anybody got any take on this? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Probably what about the science speakers? Would you all have anything to add on to the hybrid combination?
What do you mean by hybrid combination?
Yeah, like JC, they have this they got very strong arts and then science H2 at the same time. Usually science stream is more science and then math and econs, and then arts is basically art subject, probably H2 math lah. But then hybrid is like talking about both science and art at the same time, and probably throw in one H1 math or H2 math, probably the history and chemistry at the same time, or literature and physics at the same time. So do you have any take on it?
So basically it's not arts, not science, it's half-half.
Yes, half, yeah.
Half-half. What I can probably see the disadvantage there, because when you are like half-half hybrid, right, you're neither here nor there. So like for the science student, at least they know that they are science focused. Like they are, the mindset, the scientific mindset is pretty strong. So they know what is required of them, analytical mindset, problem solving skills, and yada yada. For arts, I think it's more on the critical thinking, writing skills, and arguing pros and cons and those. So if you mix the two together, right, I don't know, even as an adult, I find it pretty hard to cope with both at the same time. So for students, I feel it is a disadvantage. I feel that way. I'm not sure what's the impact on the requirements for university lah. I think you still got to just meet the H2 whatever subject requirements that they have. But that's going to be quite tough if you are like doing like maybe one science, one arts, then one math, and then one, don't know, computing or something. Basically a lot of course, like the science courses say, oh, you need one of chem and one of another science, then you don't have that. So those courses are all out for you. So I honestly, I don't see the advantage in doing a hybrid. I mean, unless there's a certain motive you want to do that. Like, I don't know. Like I seldom see students good at both.
Eric, can I just say this? I mean, if you take a hybrid, it will be very difficult to go to like science in uni or art in uni. But probably if you want to take like go business or accountancy, then you probably got the 4H2 down there, is it?
Okay, maybe just to circle back to what I said earlier on, right? Is now you're talking about like is it difficult to get into the course? That's assuming that you actually did well in all the hybrid subjects, like you score all A's. Then you need to be concerned about that. But the thing that I see for students, right, back in my JC days, when they take like a bit here, a bit there, right, the hybrid all over, right, they basically their results tend not to be very good generally. But of course there are those one or two students that did exceptionally well, but generally speaking they struggle a lot. Because even in fact, even in the colleges, right, like the previous college I came from, they kind of put all the students with those weird combination in one class, so the timetable is a bit haywire as well. So I think that contributed to the sort of like neither here nor there feeling, that your classmate, everyone is taking different subject combi, so it's kind of messy. I don't know how to better explain that, but my suggestion is, if a student come to me for advice, hey, should I take this hybrid, I'll say I think better not. You just focus on whether you prefer arts or you prefer science.
So in other words, if For example, if they are like given a hybrid course even in JC, right, it would be good for them to actually ask what kind of class are they actually be assigned to, because like what you just say, everybody just the haywire type of schedule, so you probably will be much more difficult for them. I think it's a very, very good information for us. Thank you very much, Eric.
Right, Sonali, you have a question. You can unmute yourself. Thanks.
Hi, this is a follow-up to my previous question on hybrid subjects for JC. We're currently in a very weird situation, and a weirder subject combination of having double math, chem, and combined history. My son wants to do business in the long term, but not yet ready to go in for poly and wants to take some time to decide what exactly is it that he wants to do.
If I may add on to that, so I mentioned, yeah, I know at this juncture maybe it's not easy to decide what is it that you want in the future, but notwithstanding that, right, ultimately that would really decide the decision you make now. Is it so-called optimal? So for example, we can only take 4 subjects, okay, in this in JC. So for example, a doctor, probably for a doctor, right, economics definitely will be useful to medicine, but you're not allowed to take 5. So end up, so if you take a hybrid, right, there's nothing wrong if, like, for example, I mean, just my own personal point of view, if you go into journalism, then it's fine, generalist. But if you are going to, I mean, if that's your interest, then it's really, because it's different. But if you want to be like very specific in certain things, the 4 subjects should come together to help. Let's say, for example, do business. If I hindsight, for example, probably I think, let's say I decided I want to be businessman. So I will take, for me, I will take take mathematics. I will take economics. Probably I will take computer science. And probably I would take maybe like physics. I would like to take chemistry, but probably because I'm only allowed to take 4 subjects. So probably I'm going to give up on biology, even if I'm interested there. So I think a lot decide on need to figure out most likely what is it that the student would like to pursue in the future as an adult in the career. Not easy, but if you want to diversify, given the constraint that there's only 4 subjects, right? So not easy to have to diversify, like there's only 4 subjects. So this is my point of view.
Okay.
Thanks, CY. Yeah, I have also added one of the disadvantage of a hybrid, which is timetabling. So you have to be prepared to stay back in school much later, okay, if you want to pursue a hybrid combination. So last call for last question. If not, we'll end off in 1 minute's time.
Can I take the question from Sijie?
Okay, go ahead.
I was answering another question, so I didn't see your question. Okay, okay. Somebody asked me this question before, so I suppose talking about, so if you are going to computing, right? So like mentioned, because that will be, now the AI movement, so to speak, the 4th industrial revolution. So in this case, I think H3 mathematics is more on conceptual mathematics. So logic, like for example, proof by contradiction. So something is either true or false. Try to prove that it's true. Assume that it is false. Then shows that it leads to a contradiction to something that's true. That kind of thing, more like logic. So it's something like to do with, it's very much like university mathematics. So if it's more for computing, I would recommend H2 further maths, because H2 further maths has got this linear algebra component, and some of the calculus and differential equation would help if you really want to go into the computing course. When I see computing course, I'm assuming that probably you want to pursue a career that is more focused on this artificial intelligence related stuff. So I hope I answer your question. The other possibility is that sometimes for this H2 and H3, the studying material, you go popular bookshop, it's not easy for you to get any material for you to, you got to depend on the school so-called the school notes. Okay, but I would recommend one channel. You can go to Carousel. Carousel, probably you can go and buy their H2 further maths and H3 mathematics Of course, you got to spend some money to buy it. Then you can look through what is it really like and then make a decision. So if you decide otherwise, then probably, I think it's about it can be from $50 to $100 just to see what the course is about. Because you want to get a material from the internet or from so-called popular bookshop, you can't get. So I hope I have given you some opinion. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, CY. Okay, so we would like to wrap up. Anything else from the speakers?
Okay, maybe I just add on for H3 subjects, typically the subjects will be offered only to students after their promo exams. So the consideration will be the overall grades for the 4 H2 subjects and the H3 subject that the student is offering in particular. Preferably, they would want to see a distinction in the subject when they are offered. And of course, offering H3 subjects, students must be prepared to spend extra time and hours in school, right? For H3 physics, it could be in-house H3 course, or it could be conducted at NUS, right? So those are the considerations, right, when taking H3 subjects. So that option will be only available right after the promo exam results are out, right?
Right. All right. Thanks, Mr. Tam. All right. So we will be concluding the subject combination talk. So if you have been invited by your respective speakers, and you have any further questions for the other speakers, you can direct your question to them. Otherwise, you can quickly grab our WhatsApp phone number here, and you can send questions to us directly. So with this, I would like to I'd like to invite all of you to give all the speakers thank you or clap for taking precious time off on the Sunday to join us. Right, thanks. Okay, and thank you so much. So with this, we have come to the end of the subject combination talk. So I will leave the room open for another 5 minutes if you have any ad hoc questions. Otherwise, it's official dismissal time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, for all your precious sharing. It's so wonderful. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Next time around, let's have a lady for GP side. Hey, any questions? Any other questions?
Yeah,
Hey, if not, we can
exactly.
punk.
Gil is still here.
Is Gail your student?
Gil is my student mother.
Okay. Gail, do you have any questions for us?
No, thank you. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Okay, so thanks everyone. Okay, we'll take questions offline. Okay, have a great Sunday. Thanks. See y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.